So I decided, well, here's a great opportunity to see if I can lighten this up by making some of it funny. And it worked. And then I started teaching my aerobics classes funnier, and people started coming and it's like, she's the funny one, we're going to go to her. So it's just proven to me that it is such a vital communication and teaching skill.
Yeah, I think that's so brilliant. You were on this train before I even thought about it, because that's essentially what I'm trying to combine is comedy and health as well.
Jokes in the gym, jokes in the gym, not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym, jokes in the gym. With Rudy Tyburczy.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Rudy Tyburczy, comedian, certified personal trainer, and host of this podcast, Jokes in the Gym, with a quick announcement before we get to my conversation with Leigh Anne Jasheway today. And I wanted to apologize for a bit of the static that happens on this interview. I tried to adjust it, but no dice. I'm new at this, so bear with me. Thanks. Also, just wanted to say that I am now on Patreon. You can find us there at Jokes and the Gym. And every day, for 5 days a week this year, I will be bringing you 5-minute workouts. Now, these workouts are not going to get you jacked and buff and ripped and loaded if you just do these. But I do believe that a little bit of physical movement is the key to a happier and healthy life. So if you got 5 minutes and starting at $5 a month, you can get a new 5-minute workout with me every day. You might see me and my cats, or it might be outside, or we might even go to exciting locations throughout the year. I just believe that if you work out daily, even a little bit, that's a good thing. 5 minutes a day, if you do that in a week, that's 25 minutes. Or you could stack the workouts on each other each day of the week. So by the end of the week, you're doing a 25-minute workout. I just wanted to start doing those, so I did. I've done them all weekend, and I'm excited to start sharing them with you. I'm also excited to share with you my conversation with the one and only Leigh Anne Jasheway.
Jokes in the gym.
There it is. Hey, everybody. What is up? My name is Rudy Tyburczy, and this is Jokes in the Gym. I'm super excited to be here with my guest today. She is a comedian. She is a speaker. She is a teacher. She's an improviser. She does many things. She has been super valuable to the town of Eugene and beyond for many years. So I'm really glad that we can talk today. Everyone, please put your hands together for Leigh Anne Jasheway.
Thank you. I hear the thunderous applause in my head.
Oh yes, someone stood up when they heard your name. They stood up. They were ready to just be
and they ran to the bathroom.
Yeah. So nice, Leigh Anne. I'm super glad you could be here today. How's your what's today? Thursday? How's Thursday treating you?
It's pretty good. I got some stuff done, and I'm feeling like I'm not behind yet.
I love that. Yeah, I know. Getting stuff done is super important. What was one thing you ticked off your list today?
Well, I always try to get in a 3 to 5 mile walk with my dogs every morning, despite the weather. And so It was really lovely to go out when it was 11 degrees warmer than yesterday, even though we got a little wet. So that was checked off.
Yeah, it has been highs in the 40s for the last week or so. And I'm like,
going out. As soon as it went above freezing, we went.
How do your dogs handle that? They're just little things.
Well, Murray insists. He's basically the motivating factor here.
I love it. And so I'm a well-known cat guy, obviously, but I love that like energy that comes from a dog. They're bouncing, they're ready to go, they're taking you out. Like they'll let you know. Cats let you know when it's time for them to eat. Dogs let you know when it's time to exercise. Okay, we're gonna exercise now. Let's go.
They also let me know when it's time to eat.
Yeah.
If I miss their time to eat, I'm in big trouble for a long time.
Oh yeah, they'll let you remember it. Okay, warming up. Let's get a little warm up in. I'll just do a couple words. Let's do a couple words that we can wiggle it out on the way while we're doing it. I'm a wiggler. I like to move it around, jiggle. and just shoot whatever you want. One word, a sentence or two, whatever you want. So let's some word association. Flexible.
Inflexible.
Nice.
It seems like more people are inflexible than flexible. And I mean that both physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually and politically.
Totally. Yeah. How do you find that you improve your flexibility physically, mentally, however?
I'm going to say improv. I mean, comedy improv has kept my brain functioning, especially during COVID when we did it on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And when we meet in person once a week, when we can, when the weather is conducive to that, the physical activity of like getting down on the floor and getting back up. That doesn't sound like much when you're in your 20s and 30s, but when you're in your 60s and 70s, as some of my improvisers, that ability to get on the floor and get back up requires a lot of flexibility, and we do it a lot.
Absolutely. Have you ever heard of the show like Blue Zones on Netflix? It's like this guy is studying the places in the world where there's the most centenarians. And so he goes around to the different places with the most centenarians and kinds of sees how they live and that kind of stuff. And one of the first ones was in Okinawa, I think. And a big part of it was people are sitting on the floor all day. People are getting up and going down 50, 60 times a day. And so it's like, that's a big part of your health in general, is just the ability to get up off the floor.
Right, because people lose tone in their core, and if you simply get on the floor and get back up, you are making sure that your core is engaged.
Mm-hmm. However you do it, there's a million ways to get up off the floor. One of my little parts of my workout is just sitting cross-legged and standing up without using my hands. So I'll do that 10 times with each foot over the other foot, kind of a deal. Just because it's like.
I remember a long time ago when I used to be able to roll back and then pop up off the floor.
Oh, yeah, like a ninja.
Can't do that anymore, but I can still get up off the floor without having to push off with something. And, when I socialized the small animals at Green Hill in lieu of socializing husbands, I also am on the floor a lot, rolling around. So, yeah,
it's very rewarding. When you're on the floor, it's like more fun down there.
Well, when I was teaching stress management with humor, one of the things I taught about was how to think more like a 5-year-old, because they have a much better established sense of humor. They laugh 150 to 200 times a day compared to 15 for most adults. So one of the ways to do that is actually to get down at their levels, because you see a perspective that is different from yours during the day. And the same with dogs and cats. You get down on the floor a lot, and you get down on the floor with your animals and they'll want to start playing right away. And so it's a really good reminder that we don't need to be up here all the time. There are, different verticalities we can be in.
Yeah, it's super fun to play with levels, ranges of motion. And when you're on the ground, when you're bending, you're leaning, you're doing all that stuff, you feel your hips so much and realize, oh my God, I need to do something for these things. These mamma jammas are yelling at me. What the heck?
I feel my hips no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah, the hips don't lie.
I think it's I was a runner for about 15 years, including a marathon runner, and you cannot get through that much running and get to my age and not feel your hips.
Oh, wow. You ran marathons for 15 years?
Well, I ran 5Ks and 10Ks for 15, and the last 4 or 5 years I ran marathons.
Jeez, why?
I know. I asked well, I do know why. I was in a bad marriage and I was literally running away. It was like
There's
26 miles at a time.
I would rather do the least enjoyable thing than be around you, Chris. Well, I mean, good for you for running.
Well, right after we got divorced, I stopped running.
Oh, that's great. I love that. That is appropriate.
There's all kinds of ways to get out of situations, I guess.
Oh, yeah. That was nice. That's a good word association. Here's another one. What do we got? Pumping iron.
Pumping iron? Oh my gosh, it reminds me of my days in the gym.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I would say sweat.
Sweat. Okay,
And
nice.
the smell of sweat.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, so much sweat. I'm such a sweaty person. It's so sweaty in the gym. I like it. I just can't stop. When I was in Korea, one of the people who ran the gym, the people who worked at the gym, he came up to me and he's like, he goes, other people have complained about your wetness.
You're too moist for the gym.
I'm too damp for the gym. And that just cracked. I'm like, oh no, I've got a problem. If I'm too wet for the gym,
I'm lucky because I never have really sweat a lot because I used to run in Houston.
Yeah.
And I taught aerobics 3 times a week for 12 years, high impact aerobics. And I did it in the middle of the day as part of, so I worked and then I taught aerobics. I ran a wellness program and I created the aerobics classes. So I had to teach some. And then I went back to work and I was never, really sweaty. I really didn't even need a shower.
Oh my gosh, I'm so envious of that because it's a whole production. I bring multiple shirts. I'm like, even now, even in like a Western sweaty gym, I'm like, I got a costume change halfway through. It's a lot. Oh, you had to go? You left. Something happened. And Leigh Anne is now gone from the podcast. She said, Rudy, you are too sweaty for me. Let's see if she ever returns, because otherwise I'm just going to be left here in my sweatiness. And she's back.
I disappeared for a minute. I don't know why.
That's fine.
Back.
You're back.
Are you a big user of Lumi or other deodorant products?
No, I mean, I have a stick of Tom's that I use. It's like, it's not going to do much. Like, I don't know. I could lather myself in right guard and I'm still going to look like I stepped out of the pool at the end of my workout.
And I'm one of those people, I could use a crystal and it would be effective.
Yeah. You're like, ooh,
I got nothing going on.
I just smelled the soap and I'm fine. Nice. Yeah. I'm so sweaty. Oh my gosh. It's an issue. No, pumping iron.
And you have cats on your lap all the time.
Yeah,
so.
This one is Milk. Hi, Milk. Hi, buddy. You want to come down?
What did you say that name was?
He's Milk. This is Milk.
I heard MILF, but that's a whole different.
Yeah, well, just one letter off, but it makes a pretty big difference. Hi, Milk. He's a boy. Hi, buddy. Yeah, nice. Okay, cool. Milk, where did you go? What did you do? Are you erasing things? Come here, bud. Come on, handsome. Do you have any cats? Have you ever had cats?
So I had cats when I was in the 10th grade. I adopted a pregnant off the street cat without my father's knowledge. And She had 3 kittens and I kept them all. But really that's my last personal cat experience.
Oh, okay.
I've had dogs for 40 years.
Yeah, you and your dogs are thick as thieves, huh?
Yeah, I'm just a dog person. I mean, I love all animals, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if I could, I would just live in a barn. But nobody's made me that offer. A barn that has a comedy club in the middle and serves nothing but vegan food. That would be like my dream retirement.
Oh my gosh. That sounds like the Eugene wet dream. That's like somewhere halfway between.
I would not wear tie-dye.
Yeah. You're not that far into Eugene.
And I'm not that moist, so.
Yeah. Just give me the barn and the comedy club. Oh, that'd be fun, right?
I've actually got it all plotted out where circling the animal rescue, which circles the comedy club, would be a bunch of homes for seniors who are animal lovers and comedy lovers. And when you go to the club, you get to have animals on your lap or sitting next to you and you can pet them.
Holy cow, that sounds amazing. like a dream scenario. Why don't we have this?
Because we don't have millions of dollars at our disposal.
Oh, geez. Why not? I play the Powerball. I sometimes play it's like big comedy club dreams in Eugene. That's what the Powerball would go to.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. What else? Okay, let's do a couple others. What do we got? Cheat days.
Cheat days. Okay, I've been married 3 times. And that's what that reminded me of. 2 out of 3 had too many cheat days.
One of these times, one of their cheat days was just the right amount, but you're still like, nah, get out of here.
Yeah, only cheat on days I need you to be out of the house. It's, that's a simple rule.
Right. Let's be courteous, folks. Cheat days. What else? Glutes.
Say that again?
Glutes.
Oh, glutes. I no longer have them. I used to have them.
They were around.
And now I have to sit on a cushion. I put on about 25 pounds during COVID, and I know we all gained some weight. And when I started walking, it started coming right off. But the problem is, while my dog's bulked up in the rear end, mine just went to sheet.
Yeah.
Just
flat as a pancake. Got that Northwest ass.
I have the ass of an 80-year-old man named Melvin, and I'd like him to come trade back because I preferred my own.
Melvin. There are belts for that, I think. I think that's what belts are for.
But I wear yoga pants.
Okay. Yeah, hard to keep your pants up. That's a problem we all have at some point, right?
Suspenders, I guess, are my only option.
Right. Okay. Let's do one more. Comedy competitions.
Comedy competitions. Well, as a person who ran the Laugh Off for 25 years, you'd think I'd be all for them, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think comedy should be a competition because there is no this person is funniest for an entire year. There is only this person, given this set of circumstances with this audience, happened to be found the funniest by this group of people. And that's meaningless.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not denigrating people who have won comedy competitions as we both have.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that, I really think that all art should be a community thing, where we all lift each other up and support each other rather than compete with one another. The only reason I ran the Laugh Off for as long as I did was it gets people in the door. And when you're trying to raise money for the Humane Society, that was my primary goal, was I need people to come and support the comedian they want to support.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. I'm not really much for competition of any kind, except for arm wrestling. I will arm wrestle anyone, anytime, for any reason. I have won against people with muscles like yours before, so let's...
Oh, nice. I want to see you take down the entire Eugene comedy scene. Yeah, you were named the funniest person, the best comedian in Eugene this year. You're like, I'll take anyone on. I'm not only the funniest, I've got the best arm wrestling skills.
I once went on a date with a guy who worked for the IRS, and he wanted to arm wrestle me for the bill. And ever since then, it's like, I'm just going to arm wrestle everybody to get out of paying for anything.
You should have been like, hey, I'll arm wrestle you, and if I win, I don't have to pay taxes.
You have to give me back everything I've paid in the past.
Oh, yeah. Leigh Anne Rotator Cuff Jasheway. That's what they call you. The rotator cuff. I've just loved this idea of you running around arm wrestling folks. I want to see you arm wrestle Luke Miller.
I would do that.
Yeah, good. That's so funny.
Sell tickets.
So, yeah, get people in. Well, that's the thing. I'm going to let a cat out. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back.
Come here.
There you go. Well, that's. Oh, there's a dog.
That's Murray.
Hi, Murray. Yeah, we have to have an animal in each shot.
He never looks at the camera. He always just wants to look at my face the whole time.
He's just staring at you.
He's a big mama's boy.
It was so funny. One of my cats during the pandemic, I remember I was having some kind Zoom meeting, I think with my therapist, and I was getting excited about something. And she like got in front of me and like started meowing and talking to me and being like, "Stop, no, you don't need to do that." And I was like, "You are the best part of my life." It's like, yes, please remind me to keep my blood pressure lower. It doesn't need to go up there. We're totally fine as is. But the thing with comedy competitions, going back to those, like it's the thing that gets people in the door. Yeah. It's what people want. And I feel the same as you. I'm like, okay, a comedy competition shows me who prepared and or delivered best at that point for that night. You know, it's like a show.
And like somebody who is good with 5 minutes of material and somebody who's good at 40 minutes of material, that's two different people usually.
Totally different things.
Yeah.
It's very different skill sets, and it's nice to be able to. I like competitions because it requires people to prepare and to hone their material and to tighten things. It's like, you're
saying that most comedians do not do that most of the time, and I would agree.
Yeah,
I mean, that really bothers me. I think of myself more as a comedy writer because I've written a lot. You know, I have 28 published books, and most of them are comedies. And I wrote 9 years worth of columns for the Comic News and 9 years worth of columns for the Register Guard. And I like the challenge of sitting down and taking a topic and being forced to write some jokes about it. And what that translates to on a stage often is I will put out at least my goal every time on a stage is at least 50% new material, unless I'm headlining. And I want to make sure I have some trusted material. But that means a lot of my stuff is just going to be, flat because I'm trying it out. But I'm forcing myself to write material all the time. And during COVID, I challenged myself to write one new joke a day that I would post. So for an entire year, I posted a new joke every day, and I wrote 6 to get one that I felt like was worthy of posting.
Exactly. It's like it takes a lot of trial and error to get to one good joke, and I don't think a lot of people necessarily realize that. A lot of comedians don't even realize that, I don't think.
The rule that I used in my class is 10 attempts at writing a good punchline before you get the good punchline. And it's not that it's the 10th one that is it. It's that once you get to 10, you go, number 6 was the one. I wasn't sure, but I tried 4 more. But yeah, I really think that I approach comedy as a mental workout. It's a way to keep your brain engaged, especially if you're choosing new topics that aren't necessarily all about you, because a lot of stand-up comedy is very me-centric, and I think it should be, because it makes us feel more authentic and truthful with an audience. But to write about, when I first started writing comedy back in the old days, before the computer, and you had to put them in the mail with a stamp 3 days before they were due. So basically, I wrote for a joke writing service, and they wanted 100 jokes every month, and they gave you a list of topics because they went to radio hosts and speakers and things like that. And so I had to write about golf. I hate golf. I wrote so many jokes about golf. I was writing about retirees when I was 20.
Oh my gosh, you're an old soul. It was destined.
Well, I made it now to the other end. Who's writing my jokes for me, though?
Yeah, right? I need some writers. I need more people to write my stuff. Leigh Anne, I might hire you.
I would definitely. I was thinking the other day that might be a good role for me, is challenging myself to write other people's material for them.
That's legitimately a great idea. Imagine if you gave yourself that challenge to write 10 jokes in the voice of 10 other comedians. Right. You know what? Like, you should be able to do that if you're paying attention, if you know this person and their comedy, if you've studied comedy writing.
And one of the things, I taught a comedy writing class for 25 years for LCC until COVID. And then I just decided I didn't want to do it anymore. But I taught the 8 different joke styles. Oh. And so to this day, when I'm writing something and it's not as funny as I want it to be, I pull those up because we all tend to have a style. So I can write in somebody's style because I am always aware this person does a lot of definition jokes, or this person relies heavily on observation or exaggeration. And so we tend to fall into a habitual pattern in terms of what tickles our fancy. Mine is list of 3. I write list of 3 jokes in my sleep. And I know it's a problem, so I'm frequently trying to take the 2 beginning pieces out and just have a misdirection joke, because I think they're much more elegant because you don't actually have a setup. You create the idea of the setup in the person's mind without using the words. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. But it's not my first approach. My first approach is always list of 3.
List of 3. You had the 3 husbands. Even you were right. The third one just didn't measure up. You didn't nail it with that third one. I
gotta say, list of 3 is also Tina Fey's fallback crutch joke writing style. So I'm not in bad company.
Yeah, I love a list of 3. It's so fun. It's there for the audience. The people will know what you're doing. They're in on the joke immediately, and they're trying to figure out theirs.
There are comedians who don't know and will do lists and not have the third one be funny, and then be disappointed that people were disappointed in their joke because they didn't follow the structure.
Yeah, literally sometimes it's just maybe if you put the third thing first and then left it.
It's often second.
Yeah. Whichever way it should land. Sometimes it's just that easy. It's just like, oh, I should have moved. Like I gave my punchline away on the first part of the list, and it's like, no, why did you do that? Do you have what are some of the other joke types that you find yourself drawn to?
So I like definition jokes a lot. So a form of wordplay where you're redefining a word, because I'm a little too erudite, as you may have noticed occasionally in my stand-up comedy crowd, but I like to be that way. But I do like definition jokes a lot. I like misdirection because of the beauty that I've explained. List of 3 is what I tend to fall into. I exaggerate a lot because my dad is a pathological liar who worked for the National Enquirer for 35 years. So genetically speaking...
Jeez Louise.
I know. I haven't talked to my dad in 40 years, but that's what he did with his life after he left the Air Force. And so I have the gene. That's why it's really hard for me to do observational comedy, because I always want to exaggerate it. I feel like it's not funny enough unless you've exaggerated something. And I really admire people who can just do observational comedy and really get you to laugh. Seth does a lot of that. And
Seth Milstein.
Every time it's like, how does he do that?
He's a great storyteller.
He really is. And I am not. But that's the thing as a comedian. Just like as an athlete, you have to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And when you know your strengths, you lean into them, but you also build up against your weaknesses so that you can grow that skill set too. So that's why I structured my classes that way, because I believe all of us fall into a pattern, but we're not aware that we do it. And so once you broaden your mind to the other options, then you can put those in there too.
100%. And it's literally the same way with your body as getting in shape. And like, I've been working out for 25 years. I just turned 40 this year, and you feel more and more stuff as the days go by, obviously. And then it's like, oh no, I was doing 4 things at the gym for the last 20 years. Of course I feel weird in the shoulders, or of course my hips are tight. And it's like, just informing myself of some stuff that I kind of knew already, but like then you read it and it's you read it in an official book, and you read it somewhere else, and it's just like, oh yeah, I was doing that only like the same thing for so long, and it ends up not serving you, or even like doing you a disservice, because it grows your body in painful ways.
Right. So I was a gymnast in high school, and we were the poor school, so we had the bad equipment. And I had a growth spurt between 10th and 11th grade. I went from like 4'6" to 5'6".
Oh,
just
wow.
shot up. And that's where I stayed. And so the uneven bars we had would go up and down, but they wouldn't go out. And so they hit me in the wrong place. And so I had to use my shoulders in a weird way to hunch up. And to this day, which is 50 plus years later, I still have problems with my left shoulder.
Oh, gosh.
Because I really screwed it up when I was I really think that young girls should not be doing gymnastics. It is, especially when your bones are still growing, it is really damaging.
I bet.
As somebody who did it for a long time, I can say that I would say, except for my hip thing, which is a marathon thing, because I ran on concrete because I lived in Houston, and there's nothing that isn't concrete unless it's a solid waste disposal facility, and I wasn't really inclined to go on that.
Houston sounds great.
It is. When I had to run hills, I went to a parking garage at the Galleria and ran up the parking garage.
You're just like waving at the cars as they're making that screech. Oh, there's that
and
weird.
breathing in all the toxic fumes, because that's good.
That good old Houston air.
That's right.
So you grew up in Texas.
Well, I'm an Air Force brat.
Oh, yeah.
And I landed in Texas in the 8th grade. So, yes, from the 8th grade until 1994, I was in Texas. So that was 23 and a half years.
Oh, wow. I've never been to Texas. How would you describe it to a person like me from the Eugene?
The 1700s.
That sounds exciting.
Really backwards. It gotten worse when I was there. Ann Richards was governor, and it was not that way, but it has gotten just really, really bad. I would say to anyone, don't go until they fix it. I mean, especially as a woman, you don't want to visit a state where they might check you for pregnancy as you're leaving the state. I mean, it's big and it's beautiful in places. There's so much beauty there, but there's also a lot of just, oil and oil spills. Like a day at the beach in Galveston, it was not unusual to have rolled up balls of oil just come rolling across the beach.
What a place.
Suddenly, when I landed here, I was like, yes, I'm staying forever. And I'm still in the house that I accidentally bought while on vacation from Houston.
Oh, wow. That's so cool. How not? That's what, 30 years, 20-something years later? Is that what you said?
It'll be 31 years in February.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was here on vacation and wasn't even going to go through Eugene, but had to get back to I-5 to make the plane out of Portland, and had a few extra hours and talked my then ex-husband into buying this house.
Was that number 2?
That was number 2. Yes. Good.
Nice.
Good, yes. He was the younger one. He was easier to manipulate.
Yeah, these us young and dumb us.
That would be it. Yeah.
So how would you? Okay, you described Texas a little bit. What made you want to stay in Eugene, or what was the draw or appeal here?
The nature. I was born in the Black Forest in Germany, and there's something about being close to forests and mountains and rivers and streams that is part of my DNA. And the whole time I lived in Houston, I remember looking out on the horizon and wishing there were mountains. And I never got it out of my system. And so I lived in Seattle right before I moved back to Houston. I moved back to Houston to go to grad school. But I lived in Seattle for a year in like 1980. And I got really spoiled by the beauty. And then within a year, I was spoiled by both the beauty and the acceptance of weirdos. And I have never felt like I fit in. I especially didn't fit in Houston, where it was all about money, 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 get. And I don't like that at all. I mean, most young people, they buy these expensive houses and they're never there because they have to work so hard to afford them. So the only people who benefit from the houses are the housekeepers and the gardeners. The people who bought the houses were never home. And it's like, really? How does that make any sense? And so finding a place where there's a supportive community for people who don't want to live the American dream as it's been sold to us just was very attractive and cemented my decision never to leave this place unless Trump gets elected again, and then I may be going to Iceland.
Reykjavik? Yeah, why not?
I have a dual citizenship because I was born in Germany.
Oh, wow. So you have EU on your passport? No way. Oh, my God. That's the dream. My mom's an immigrant. She's born in Norway, and I've gotten this close to dual citizenship on one or two different, like, just little paperworky things. Oh, my gosh. That's so cool. That's the coolest thing.
I was born in a German hospital, not even an American, because there was no hospital on the American base in Brooklyn where I was born. And so I was born where my mother and my grandmother were born.
That's so cool. It sounds like, you've been in so many different, like, styles of living in your life. You've been through many iterations, many different places, times, husbands. Yeah.
In the fourth grade, I think I went to 14 different schools.
That seems rude.
Well, my dad and mom were divorcing, and they kept shipping us to other relatives while they figured things out. But I was proud to say I still managed to have an A average in school. It's like, yes.
That's great. Well, it's something you could lean on, right? And amidst all the chaos, it's what kind of tethered you to something.
I've always had my brain to lean on.
To fall back on. Well, imagine that. Good for you.
Well, that didn't come in very handy as a girl in Texas, to be a smart girl in Texas. I was on the math team. I was on the slide rule team.
The slide rule team?
Slide rule team. The only girl on the slide rule team in the state of Texas. And the boys wouldn't accept that I had the knowledge base, so they would always throw me these dares.
Okay.
And I used to have to eat, well, I didn't have to, but I did because I was dared, like hot pepper packets at pizza restaurants, which is why I still don't have any taste buds.
Was it worth
it was worth it.
I could take all. You were like, I don't need these lame shakers that give me 2 flakes at a time. Give me the whole packet.
That's right. Well,
oh my gosh.
Recently, like 4 or 5 years ago, somebody got a sample of salsas as a gift, and one of them was a ghost pepper salsa, and he said, nobody's ever going to eat that, so I just took a teaspoon of it.
Oh, no.
But it didn't kill me like it did most people.
So that's a secret skill you've got. You can just take on any hotness level.
I'm going to arm wrestle you and then eat a ghost pepper.
Yeah. What's that scale? Oh, darn, I forgot the scale. You know, there's a... Oh, yeah, there's a word.
Scoville? Is it Scoville?
Yeah. Scoville, yes, the Scoville scale.
See,
Nailed it.
My brain still works.
It's still in there. Yeah, way to go. So you're jumping around schools. You're moving around. You didn't get to Texas till high school, but it sounds like you started comedy pretty early.
No, 32. No. I was 32.
Oh, well, what led you to that?
Oh, okay. So I was the director of wellness programming for the University of Texas Houston Health Science Center. And basically I did smoking cessation, stress management, exercise, and nutrition programs for 9,000 faculty, staff, and students with a staff of 1. So I was really stressed, and I was getting bored because wellness is basically messaging the same thing all the time. There were some things I took pride in, like we wrote the first university-wide smoking prohibition in the country. In 1989, we were smoke-free, 1989. But I was bored, and I also was getting a divorce, from my first ex-husband, and it had been a really hard relationship. So I went to therapy twice because that's all my HMO would cover. And
if you fixed it, right? Twice, it got the job done.
Well, she said, you need to learn how to have fun. And the reason is because of all the moving around and all of the multiple mothers, I was the eldest. And I had mothered everybody because I was forced into that position. And so I really didn't have much of a childhood. And so I didn't know what to do. And she said, you need to learn how to have fun. So I got one of those. It's like a community college, but it's a education for adults that's outside of the community college structure. And I just decided I would randomly pick something because I didn't trust. I would have picked calculus or something. And I really didn't even know I had a sense of humor. I didn't listen to comedians per se, not like all the other comics I know. And so I randomly picked a class, and it was a 2-week writing comedy from headlines class.
Cool.
And then I took a stand-up class. And then I took that same stand-up class like 3 more times and did my first stand-up December 7th, 1992.
Oh, nice. It's coming up.
Yeah. Every D-Day. Is that D-Day December 7th? Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
It could be.
It's one of those days. Don't live on in infamy, except I keep forgetting what it is.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I took that skill set and I applied it to the health education. For example, so you're probably too young to remember this, but on Saturday Night Live, there used to be a group called the Whiners that was a regular skit, and they would whine about everything. And they had these really whiny voices. And so I created a little troupe where we would go around to our 7 different schools. We had a medical school, nursing, like that. And we would whine about how we couldn't stop smoking or how we didn't want to exercise because it got us sweaty. And almost all of our programming had boost in participation because we were getting the message out and we were doing it in a funny way. And I rewrote all of the brochures so they were funny. And it was like, wow, it never occurred to me that you could educate through comedy.
Yeah.
And
that's brilliant.
The first time I actually taught with comedy. Can you hear that barking?
Hi, Pop.
I need to close that door.
Potentially, if they don't.
I'm going to close it.
It's all good.
I'll be right back.
Right on.
Hush, baby. That would be Katja.
Hi, Katja.
In the other room barking at the mailman. So the first time I ever taught was an AIDS education class for dentists. And this
dentists?
Yes, this is when AIDS first arrived. And all of our hands-on practitioners who were having to learn how to do things like draw blood or, be in people's mouths were very scared. And so a lot of really deep and fear-laden material. And so I decided, well, here's a great opportunity to see if I can lighten this up by making some of it funny. And it worked. And then I started teaching my aerobics classes funnier, and people started coming and it's like, she's the funny one. We're going to go to her. So it's just proven to me that it is such a vital communication and teaching skill.
Yeah, I think that's so brilliant. You were on this train before I even thought about it, because that's essentially what I'm trying to combine is comedy and health as well. It's like you know how it is, like getting comedians to talk about health is not an enjoyable process for most of them, but I want to change that. And as soon as I started talking about health again, she just left. Her connection was like, we're not doing this. Come on, guy. We got this Eugene connectivity. We don't want to talk about health. Oh man, Leigh Anne's been great.
Apparently, I just talk too much and it just shuts me down.
Yeah, I was done again. I was like, oh no. I started talking about health and your internet went out. It's like, no thanks, buddy. Like, you got a long hill to climb.
It doesn't do this on Zoom. I'm wondering if it has something to do with the I don't know. Anyway.
Well, it should be fine. Yeah, exactly. But it's hard to get folks to talk about stuff. I was talking with Seth this week, our mutual friend, Seth Milstein, and I was like, you should be on the podcast sometime. And he's like, I don't really lift weights or whatever. I'm like, you don't have you ever thought about health once in your life ever? Then we can talk about it. It's fine. That doesn't matter if you're lifting weights.
He talks about health-related issues in his comedy, as most comedians do.
Totally.
But you're right. The lifestyle of the poor and comedic does not lend itself well to being in the gym. And, and I haven't been in a gym in 25 years. My daily exercise is walking in the summer and spring. I am a radical gardener. If I'm not digging a hole in the yard somewhere, I have dug one 18-foot long, 3-foot deep trench for a while. Wow. I've dug another 12-foot long trench to prevent my fence from falling over.
Oh, geez. Nice. You're a trench digger.
I love digging. Well, I did. Now that I'm a little older, it's like maybe I should stop with the trench digging. But I have a mini trampoline right behind me in my office, which Perfect. I got during COVID and I love. I don't really bounce like this because I have 8-foot ceilings and I'm 5'7" and it's 12 inches off the ground. And I can do math.
Yeah, there's some math whizzes around.
And I also heavy hoop. I love the heavy hoop. Or do you know what I'm talking about when I say heavy hoop?
It's like a weighted hula hoop?
5-pound weighted hula hoop. So I've always been an excellent hula hooper. In college, I won a hula hooping contest for 2 hours and 46 minutes. And I didn't have to arm wrestle either.
You add that. You've got so many talents, Leigh Anne. That's crazy. Over the top while doing hula hoops. Yeah. I arm wrestle. I can use a slide rule. I can't use a slide rule anymore. I'm sure I've forgotten all of that. But I can still hula hoop. And I like it because, like, if I'm feeling my hips and I don't want any movement this way, hula hooping, people think hula hooping involves hip. It does not. No, what does it involve? It's a lot of core?
It's a lot of core. It's just, you don't even need that. It's front and back. A good hula hooper is front and back, unless you've got multiple hoops going, and then you've got to get the whole thing going.
Oh, can you do multiple hoops?
I can't. Well, I can. I just can't do it for very long. I once hula hooped naked in front of about 50 other women.
Oh, there you go. That's an experience. You probably bonded.
And I was 57 at the time.
That's super cool. Oh my gosh.
It was a photo shoot, and my girlfriend brought her hula hoops while we were waiting for things to happen. And so we hula hooped in a parking lot off of West 18th.
That is, I bet the passerby were like, okay.
Oh, we had a lot. Because all of us had to cross. We had to cross, what street is Bertelsen? We had to cross Bertelsen to get to where the photos were being done. I have the picture. Well, I used to have the picture right there. I wonder where I put it. It was a political statement photograph, and it turned out beautifully. We were chasing some naked women encrusted in mud, chasing an American flag, somebody representing an obstetrician, a journalist, and a politician.
Nice.
Lovely photo shoot that Tracy Sidor did, and the photos turned out great. But yeah, we got a lot of attention as we crossed the road, especially coming back because it rained on us and the mud was mostly gone at that point.
Yeah, when you see nude bodies like out there moving in the world, you're like, what is going on? I went to Oregon Country Fair this year for the first time, really. And I went to the sauna, and there's like live music playing in the nude sauna, and there's like 100 of us like dancing in the showers. And I'm like, bodies just move in the craziest, coolest ways when they're listening to some guy on the bagpipes.
Was anybody doing the wacky wavy arm dance? Because that's my favorite naked.
I didn't have my glasses on, and I tried to keep my gaze towards. Yeah, I think it'd be weirder if I put my glasses on in the nude sauna. I'm not trying to do that. If you were
as blind as I am, you would have your glasses on. I can't even see like to the end of my nose.
Yeah, no, it's I had my glasses off today, and I was like, why can't I see something right now? It's like, oh, okay, I forgot. Yeah. So there was something I wanted to talk about. The last thing we were on, what was the topic? It was I'm not sure, but it sounds like comedy and health have been intertwined for you for since the beginning.
So when I moved here, I had to find a job, and I gave myself a year to find any kind of income that was comedy based. And so because I had 12 years of experience in the wellness profession, there was this statewide wellness conference held up at Seaside for people in state organizations, so state offices. And so I told them that I would keynote for free, and I keynoted for free, and that just basically started the ball rolling on my humor and stress management career. So what I've done until COVID, and then I'm still doing it a little bit, but not very much, is taught organizations and disorganizations how to use their sense of humor to manage stress and improve their mental health. And with a focus on the fact that most of the things that we laugh at during the day are not funny. They're not meant to be funny. They're not processed by our brain as funny. 70% of the things we laugh at are heart-based. They're out of social bonding because we like people and we tend to laugh when we are around people we like. And arousal relief, which is we're aroused to anxiety or fear or guilt or depression or whatever, and we naturally laugh as a way of letting little bits of steam off. So it's like the pressure cooker on your mental health. So that's what I've been doing and training around that, so I would do like an hour keynote and then maybe a 4-hour breakout session where I would engage people in doing improv games, although I never called them that because people are afraid of the word improv. So we would just call them exercises because that doesn't freak adults out as much as the idea of playing.
That's so weird. They're like, improv, comedy.
Improv evokes an idea that you have to be a professional because most people have only seen Whose Line Is It Anyway, and those are professional improvisers. But if you just say we're going to play some games or do some exercises or have some interactive experiences, they're much more likely. And we're doing the same exact things. That's how I wrote my improv game. Is I tested a bunch of my improv game book. I tested a bunch of new games that I made up because one of the things I like for challenging my brain is I make up new improv games all the time. We had a improv meetup on Zoom last night and we played 2 new improv. One of them was Fake Podcast, and it was brilliant and it was so funny. We laughed so hard.
It's like Mr. Know-It-All, Dr. Know-It-All. Do you know that game? It's kind of like that, right? Like you just take an idea. Well, that's most experts on anything now anyways. They just have an idea and then they don't stop talking about it. Like you'll hear from me for the next 12 years and you're like, that's a long run on sentence.
So I try, and this is based upon my workshop experiences, I try to debrief games in those situations so that I always had games that taught certain skill sets that people needed. And so the podcast one that I did last night, one of the things that improvisers always need to work on is to be able to have that back and forth effectively. Because if you're really excited about something, as we have done a couple times, we step on each other. Because especially if you have 2 ADHD people in the room at the same time. I know. When I'm in the room with somebody, I know. Right? And like this all the time.
Oh, yeah. I had 12 things I was going to tell you. Well, number 7.
I used to start my academic classes at the U of O with, okay, my brain works like this, so don't expect a straight line at any time during this.
And I think when I taught in Korea, mostly that's where I've done most of my teaching, and some of my more advanced conversation classes didn't love how I worked because it was kind of jumpy and it was like going with the flow and of what the class was asking, what they were talking, what they were moving towards. And so I like the free flowing aspect of improv, of comedy, of podcasts, of conversations, even now of working out or of doing a stand-up set. I like that improvisational aspect of like, what am I feeling like I want to go to next? And I'll use that at Mike's. I'll use that even at the gym. And it's so fun to jump from place to place, from lily pad to lily pad, as opposed to staying on that track that you may have set for yourself, which is there for a reason, and it can help you.
One of the things I've really always admired about Eddie Izzard, and I'm trying to think of the name that she is using in stand-up, is it Sharon? It might be Sharon.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Is the ability to do that traversing of many different paths, but always bring it back in a way that is, that first of all, you're astounded the way that is all tied back together at the end because you've gone on all these different journeys. And I fail at that sometimes because I forget what my original point was.
Right.
And I have struggled sometimes. I would say that when I'm doing stand-up and it's going really well, I feel much more relaxed and improvisational, and I'll just do stuff. When it's not going really well, I feel, and by not really well, I don't mean sucking or dying. I just mean, I thought that joke would hit better, that kind of thought that runs through your brain. Then I'm less improvisational, which is the opposite of what it should be because I'm so strong at improv. I should relax into it, but there's a part of me that wants to be more rigid. Can you hear I'm being whined at now? Because it's almost 4, which is DINNER time.
The whiners.
It's so cute when he does it.
Oh, yeah. That's so funny. Well, I started in improv too, and I think that that's what gave me some of my style and some of my courage on stage as well, because those improvisational instincts should be followed, I think, when you're up there and you're playing with the audience. I like to say that comedy is the illusion of dialogue. Stand-up is the illusion of dialogue.
Yeah, that's good.
And I have treated it like a class in many ways. It's like I just use classroom management skills a lot of the time when I'm on stage.
You have to manage the audience somehow. Absolutely.
And one guy that I worked with in Singapore, he was an Irish comedian, Martin Moore. He said, and I tell this to people all the time because I love it. As a host, he was like, I kind of look at the audience or the room in like 5 different segments, like sections, physical sections, and like 2 in the front and 3 in the back. And I try to give energy to each of those sections throughout my set. And it just made so much sense to me. It was perfectly logical.
I thought the same thing because back of the room tends to get ignored. And back of the room is frequently where the problems are.
Yeah.
And the more you ignore that, the worse it gets. And so it's simply just focusing your eyes, even though you can't see because you have the spotlight in your eyes. If your body is turned and your eyes are in that direction, they feel like you're engaging them. And I think it's really important to, have a strategy for making sure that everybody feels included in the pseudo dialogue.
Totally.
Look at that. I came back to the point that I started from.
You nailed it. Look at the brain still works. Look at that. You got to just keep.
Even with this on my lap. Why?
Oh, there you go, buddy. You have been through so many cool, interesting, like I said, different phases that I just think are so. I love how much you have already combined comedy and health, because when I talk with people about these two things, they're like, oh, I haven't really heard of that done much before. And I'm like, there's people who've done it for sure.
I have 2 legal size file drawers full of research because I am a nerdy girl, as you may have determined by my being on the math team and the slide team. And I like to know the research behind it. I like to know what are the physical benefits of laughter? What are the mental health benefits of laughter? How is the most effective way to use humor in a classroom, and what doesn't succeed? I've got most of my books on the top 2 shelves over here are all about the integration of laughter in teaching or laughter in health, because that's, where I've been for the past almost 30 years of my life.
That's so cool. That's wonderful. Oh, okay. So what is one of your main things that you try to, impart on people about laughter and health, or like how to incorporate play into your life more regularly?
So I have tips that I frequently use at the end. And like one of them is that we should all aspire to laugh out loud at least once an hour, whether anything is funny or not, because that reminds people, so 15 times a day is the average for white American laughing out loud. And unfortunately, that's the way where we have the statistics. And 150 to 200 times a day is what it is for kids. Wow. And so if I'm asking people to aspire to the mean, because they're so far below it, they at least have a number. And if you say once an hour, that gives them structure, because we're up usually about 15 hours a day. And then I remind them whether anything is funny or not, because faking it, you do not have to feel like lifting weights to get the benefit of lifting weights. You do not have to feel like laughing to get the benefits of just going,
just a laugh, get it out there.
Easy. And then I also give a recommendation for 10 minutes a day of physical play. And I define play as it must be physical, laughter-inducing, adventuresome, and youthful. Because a lot of things, like people think that I'm going to go play pickleball, which is physical. So that's play, because I use the word play in it. But if it's competitive and if you get good at it, it loses the adventuresome spirit and you no longer feel young doing it, which is, again, one of the things I love about improv. It's never the same. So you can't get used to it. Yeah. And the physicality, if you're meeting in person rather than online, we try to be physical online, but it is harder. You're in a box. You notice I've used my hands a lot and my body, because that's what I keep it in there. Yeah. And then I would say my third and probably most important tip is to make funny, playful friends who seem to have that skill set no matter what their age. And typically, here's the nerdy girl part. Our ego restrains us from laughing in play. It's our fear of appearing not normal, out of place, silly, unlike the other people who are on the ladder to success. But ego follows a bell curve that's kind of flat on the top. And we really are not born with ego. And it starts to develop. And then by the time we're in middle school or high school, it's really taking off. And in your 20s and 30s, it's up there. And then it plateaus and you are high ego, most people, until the mid 40s. But then it starts to taper off.
Nice.
One of the great things about becoming older is you no longer give a damn about what other people think. And so you're willing to do things. So if you're trying to make friends who are funny and playful, young and old are really good examples, because they're not living in ego.
Huge. Yeah. And ego is what hurts everything.
Right. And you can't hang around a playground watching children, because that's not a good idea. So generally speaking, I advise people to go for the older folks. If you notice, the mean age of my improv troupe is in the late 60s. And there's a reason for that, because we don't care.
Yeah.
We can fail, and we don't care.
I love that. And what people I think also don't realize is that all of this takes a lot of intentionality. Like, it takes practice, it takes purpose, it takes thought, it takes
goal setting.
Goals, absolutely. I put stuff on my walls that's like, what do you want to be today? How do you want to interact with the world? This kind of stuff, you need to think about it a little bit beforehand. What else did I read recently that something about play and learning, and you can learn something through play with 15 to 20 repetitions versus not play, which is 200 repetitions.
Yes. Learning, keeping your brain flexible and strong and exercised on a regular basis is just as vital as doing those things for your body and from the ability to learn. And there are studies that show that improv is very effective at helping with dementia. And if anything can help with dementia, there are studies about how it reduces stress in people with dementia, and it reduces stress in caregivers, whether they're professional or family, if you just yes and everything and just enjoy the ride. So, having the same kinds of approach to your physical health as you do to your mental humor health, I think is so vital. And they're so connected. And I just, it still freaks me out that people say mind and body as if they're two different things.
It's like, it is funny though, because you can't think about them separately, right? It's fun.
Only because this is part of that. Can you think about them separately though?
It's a trip. I've always been like fascinated with the thought that I can move my fingers. I can be like, fingers move, and then they do. And I'm like, what did I do to get fingers? Like, I feel so lucky. Like, it's such a great.
Wait till you're about 50 and you feel your gallbladder. Then you may be questioning your control over your body. It's like,
I wish I didn't feel all of it.
I did this joke once that if you're a woman and you're in your 30s, you know where your ovaries are. If you're in your 50s, you know where your gallbladder is.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm sure we could continue to talk for a super long time. Maybe I'd love to have you back on again. But as we get to around the 1 hour point, I want to hear from you about like what advice would you give your younger self? Like, as you're starting comedy or as you're starting this, like, what would you say? Hey, 30-year-old Leigh Anne, here's the advice I want you to keep in mind moving forward. What would that be?
I think it would be quit trying to be good. Just try to make yourself laugh, because I really have taken to heart that good or best depends on the audience. And in my classes, I used to say that each of your sets is about 50% what you've written and 50% how you perform it. But the how you perform it depends 50% on the audience receptivity. Because if they're sitting there glaring at you angrily, or they're all trying to hook up with one another, not paying any attention, that is going to drive how well you perform it. And so I wish I had approached it with more of a let's just have fun that I do now. Now, no matter how well a set goes, it's like, that was fun. And that's really what I care about. That and at least having people laugh at one smart joke. If I get you to laugh at a math joke, I'll be happy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
But yeah, I think when we're approaching anything new, we have this mindset of excelling and this definition of what success is. And it's very, very narrow. It's just like with any art. I started painting during COVID, and I've never had painting skills. And I've been told over and over that I'm not good at it. And I've had so much fun doing it anyway. But it took shifting a mindset into, it doesn't matter what the end product is. If I enjoy doing it and I have a great idea and I manage to put that idea down and it pleases me. And it's the same for comedy. If I wanted to write a set about how we need to eat the billionaires and I delivered it and I got some laughs, I'm good with it because that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so cool. So do you think that focusing just on fun can work in opposition to meeting goals?
I think it depends on the way your brain is wired. Because there are people who cannot self-motivate without having goals and meeting them every day. Yeah. I am not one of those people. I have a general overarching goal, and that is have fun, enjoy life, and make other people's lives better. and also save all the animals in every way humanly possible, and the planet, and democracy.
Just a few things.
A few things on the list. So I think it's really important to understand who you are, no matter what you're doing. And so if you are the kind of person who needs a to-do list and checking things off, then what you need to do is make sure that having fun is on your to-do list, and it is one of your goals. If you're the kind of person who, no matter what, is going to achieve stuff, because it's part of me. I've been retired now for a year and a half, and I am no less busy. There is stuff every day that needs attention, most of which has come right out of here. Like I have this list here. Write a play about how a buy-nothing group solves crimes. I'm going to write this play, right? I just have a list of craziness here.
Oh, yeah, got to do that. Forgot. I didn't do that on Tuesday.
So if you understand who you are, then you can understand how best to operate to make sure that you have fun. Either you put it on your list because you need lists to do things, or you just have fun and do the things too, because that's just how you're wired.
Well, that's so cool. I'm sure there's plenty of people who'd love to hear more from you. Where can people find Leigh Anne on the internet or in the world?
So on the internet, you can go to accidentalcomic.com, and you will also find some really short mental health videos that I did during COVID that parse out, big, small word, but big, parse out different components of workshops I have done about how to use comedy as a tool for engaging your mental health. And you'll notice in them, most of the time I'm wearing a silly hat, or I've got a puppet or something weird, because one of the things that's really easy when you're talking to an organization is to stand out as a speaker if you have something funny with you. I never did PowerPoint. First of all, that's very stressful as a speaker traveling across country, which I did all the time.
All the tech stuff.
Right. And if you're traveling with a puppet, not so problematic, except you get patted down extra. But, that may be all the action you're getting that week. So
that's fine. Yeah, I take a while at the security checks. Well, yeah, I'm. Can people find your books on your site?
There's a section there for books, and if you're in Eugene, you can also just check me out on Facebook, and I will bring a book to your door in my little electric vehicle, because why pay postage and shipping if you don't have to?
I love it.
And I take my dogs everywhere for walks, and so chances are we'll be in your neighborhood, and I'll just drop something off.
You'll get a smile from Leigh Anne and the doggos.
And I'll probably leave you some daffodil bulbs, too. You never know.
Oh, my gosh. What a bunch of extras. I get like stickers and stuff when I buy things online. I'd rather have a Leigh Anne daffodil original with Koch. Who is it? Koch? Katja.
She's named for a drag queen on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Perfect. Yes, of course.
And
And Murray, also a drag queen dog?
No, Murray is named for the dog Murray on Mad About You, which was an old comedy show.
Okay,
and a dog named Murray.
That's great. I love that. Well, I'm sure you are mad about Murray.
I am.
Okay, Leigh Anne. Well, I thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. The things you've accomplished have always been super impressive to me, and I really appreciate the paths that you have taken. And I will definitely bug you for more information, because all the stuff that you talk about is super interesting to me, and I love hearing more about laughter and health and how the two intertwine. That's what I want to continue to talk about.
I'd be happy to loan you some material, because I've got a lot of it.
Awesome. I will definitely take you up on that. Oh my gosh. Well, I do thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you. Any parting words of wisdom?
No, but thanks for having me on, and thanks for carrying the torch of laughter and fitness. That's a really important thing to do.
It's my pleasure. Hopefully someone will laugh.
And someone will learn.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you soon, Leigh Anne. Thanks again. And yeah, talk soon.
Okay.
Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym, not jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym. Jokes in the gym.
With Rudy Tyburczy.